Okay, I got the saddle off the grinder. I used my chain hoist. And that works real well. I had to go down and I bought a pallet jack. Since I can't move the chain hoist, I needed to be able to move the grinder. That works pretty good. Doesn't have a lot of clearance, so it's pretty tall. Need 3.5-inch clearance to get under it. Yeah, the hose for the oiler right up there, the one hanging down there, that's the one that I had to disconnect to get this off, and I thought that I'd have to pull the hydraulic pump out, which isn't that big of a deal, but I did have to disconnect some hoses because I don't know if you can see under there. I'll have to get a light. I had to get underneath, get the hydraulic pump out to get that hose disconnected. It turns out it looks like you could just lift the table up, and then you'd be able to reach under there and disconnect that. So I know that now. So I think I'm going to write all this stuff down and make a little procedure, disassembly procedure for this, since what little information I found on it doesn't tell you too much. And also, the documentation I have doesn't cover this pump. It's got this huge hydraulic valve here. And to get an idea of the size, that's a 1-horse motor back there. And the valve is actually bigger and much heavier than 1-horse electric motor. I looked that up, and they still make that valve. There's quite a few of them on the internet. You can configure them about 100 different ways, probably even more than that, to do different things. So, but the good news is it's still made. It's a Vickers, which now I think is owned by Eaton. So we are making progress. Yeah, I really didn't want to have to do so much work on this grinder. It's nothing difficult, it's just a matter of cleaning and tuning it up. Now what I did want to check are the cross sideways, and they look real good. There's a little bit of wear back here, but not much. I can see the hand scraping pretty much all along them. There's the half nut that goes up and down when you engage or disengage the feed. That's pretty neat. Anything else of interest? It looks like these oilers on the saddle, it looks like they were probably oiling. There's a little bit of oil up there. The other oilers on the slide, cross slide, absolutely nothing. I've taken them out and tested them. They're plugged solid. So it's a necessity to clean all this oiling system out. Well, take a look and see what's inside of a Reid hydraulic grinder. Fair amount of room in there. Back up there's that copper tube that's the catch line for the waste oil in the column. And there's a copper tube that goes up into the column, so it looks like I'm going to have to take the column apart to get to those lubricators. These castings are about 1/2 inch thick. It's only 3/4 inches in places. That's why this base is so heavy. And that's what's in there. There's a bunch of valves, there's some control valves and stuff up in the second section. There's an electric solenoid valve there. There's some kind of manual valve that controls the speed of the table. And we have choices off. Rapid transfers, wheel dress, and feed. And it's handle moves awful easy. I don't know if it stiffens up, hydraulic pressure's on. That's the feed rate. And this is the control that engages the half nut. If you move this up, the half nut goes up. It's kind of a neutral, and when you come down, it turns the hydraulics on. The hydraulic ram, it connects at one point at the front of the table. So to take the table off, remove these two bolts here. And then this is a cross-feed lock. It has a bolt that comes down through the table, or through the saddle, I should say, into there. But it looks like I'm going to have to tear into that. I really didn't want to. It's all nice and clean. I don't like tearing into stuff I don't have to, because generally all I can do is break something. I had to cut one of these hydraulic hoses off. This one right here. Slice it off with a knife because the ferrule, somebody massively over tightened these. It's been worked on because I don't think it came with these modern flashy color tie wraps. They marked the hose, so somebody's had this out in the part. And they torqued this down so hard I could barely even get the nut loose. The ferrule's stuck in there. I might have to take this out and replace that fitting. So that's one of the reasons why that I don't like to take stuff apart if I don't have to. It's not that I'm lazy. I just end up having to break stuff or cut stuff off. You know, these machines are 40, 50 years old. Okay, well, got the saddle set on the ground here on some blocks. So, it looks like I'm going to tear into the column. Then once I get it all apart, I'll start cleaning parts and figure out what I need to order. But all in all, the grinder itself, it works really good. I'm really happy with it. Okay, I got brave and opened up the back. It has these stainless steel sheets here that seem to coil up and that extend or contract as the head moves up and down. And I took the sides off and I couldn't see any mechanism for tightening it. This was up here and it was all the way down. And I took the screws out, wiggled this, and this thing wound up and shot out across the shop and landed out there. It scared me, and I said a whole bunch of bad words. Nowhere in the book does it tell you any of this stuff. It looks like I got lucky. I decided to open up the back, and there's the lubricator manifold. I see two lubrication points. There's two metering units. There's another metering unit. It goes down. I guess it lubricates that screw. But I'm thinking if all the metering units are here, I'm done. There's a copper tube coming up there that switches to hose, so I can flush that. I've looked online and I haven't been able to find this size hose, even on the Beezer website. I don't know if it's obsolete or what, but yeah, I got in there, and these ways are, yeah, they're not dry down there. Up here, kind of feels more of the consistency of grease in there. Yeah, a little bit of rust up there. I guess it never gets up that high. But all in all, looks pretty good. The screw looks pretty good. A little bit of, it's not rust, I think it's grease. That might be a good thing, is put a little grease up there. Don't like grease on a grinder, but that'll help keep it from rusting. Rust is a big problem around here because of the humidity. Oh, it's down there. Yeah. Okay, well that was exciting. My heart's still beating fast. That thing just boing and shot across the rim. You know what I said about not liking to take stuff apart if I don't have to? So these little tiny Allen head screws here. Had these all the way around. One of them, these on the top were so tight, I was winding the Allen wrench up. And I think it was that one. And when it snapped loose, a little spark shot out of there. It was so tight. I thought those were going to break off, and then I'd have to drill them out and re-tap the holes. And simple stuff like that can get real complicated. But I did manage to get them out barely. It appears there's a little bit of oil up here. But it appears that these two oilers might actually be working. I know that these oilers, there's the holes there on the for the table, are not working. But I wanted to clean all this stuff anyways and get the junk out of here. Yeah, I can still see some of the scrape marks on here. Looks pretty good. Yep, not bad. Let's go over here and take a look. They're definitely dirty though. Yeah, they look pretty good. Well, these wouldn't get nearly as much wear as the ones on the table. Okay. There's the hydraulic ram that does cross feed. That was easy to disconnect from the outside. This thing's pretty well designed. I'm impressed.